Hello everyone, my name is Steven and welcome to Storytime. Today we're going to be reading some I Don't Work Here Lady stories. Tales of some of the most awkward, frustrating, or otherwise inconvenient exchanges one could have. And let me just say, if you're not already subscribed to Storytime, please consider doing so. But with that being said, let's sit back, relax, and listen to some captivating Reddit stories. I, a kid, ended up fitting some other kid's pants. So I was in this one clothing store. I was in casual wear looking like I came straight out of Hot Topic. I mean, I looked nothing like an employee. They had blue on and here I was with a red flannel, black shorts with either thigh highs or fishnets, one of those, can't remember. Black tank top, boots, I seriously did not look one bit like I worked there at all. I was with my mom and I was trying to grab something out of my bag as I had put it on the cart. I had earphones in and I guess that might have somehow given the big stretch that I might have worked there, because I hear someone calling to me. Enter random lady and random kid. Random lady called me over from the aisle over, clearly able to see me. "Excuse me, do you work here? I need to know what size shorts my son is," she called, looking directly at me. Not over, not next to me, no. She was making full eye contact with me. However, I, like a fool, was naturally helpful. It sounded easy too. Fit some kids' shorts? No problem. Just show them how to do it and be on my way. I told her, no, but I can show you how to do it. So she agrees and I walk over to help. I show her how to do it, easy peasy lemon squeezy. She goes, "Okay, but what's my son's short size?" Now keep in mind, I don't work here. I have no obligation to put the shorts up to the kid's waist to try seeing what size the shorts were. I tell her, well, it's the same as his pant size. Again, she asks, "Yes, but what's his short size?" Now I'm starting to see danger here, but I repeat, it's his pant size. They're both the same thing. She repeats herself, "But what's his short size?" I already know I'm getting nowhere by asking her. Random kid is looking uncomfortable. He seriously just wants to get out of there. So I turn to him. "What's your pant size?" I ask him. He's a bit quiet, but he tells me. I forgot the actual number, but I repeated back to her. His short size is pant size. She had a look as if she were somewhat annoyed or something, but seeing as I was a minor and I very clearly stated I don't work there, she didn't escalate things further. Instead, I gave her the shorts and they both went on their way. And now I'm kind of terrified of applying for a job there in fear that one day that lady will see me and chew me out for suddenly actually working there. That's really good on OP though for taking the time and having the patience to help this lady and this kid out on figuring out the size, but I don't understand why the lady couldn't get it through her skull that the pant size and short size are the same, unless she was talking about like length, but she never clarified that, so it doesn't make any sense at all. But it's very telling of how nice a person OP is. I'm sorry, I don't have the authority to give you a table. So this post is definitely a lot more mild than a lot of other ones posted here, but I still found it kind of funny nonetheless. I was meeting someone at a local lunch spot in my city. It has a super chill atmosphere and the employees of the restaurant have a fairly lax dress code, but they still have name tags and 90+% of the time wear t-shirts with the restaurant logo. My friend was stuck in traffic, so I was just standing inside the door next to the sign that boldly read, "Please wait here to be seated." Just staring at my phone when this guy walks in behind me. I look up from my phone for a sec, wondering if he's my friend, and give him a small smile before going back to idly scrolling through Reddit. A bit later, the guy turns to me and kind of awkwardly is like, "Oh, excuse me, can I get just a table for one?" And since I wasn't paying attention to him, I just figured he was talking to the hostess. But after a sec, I look up and he's standing right in front of me, and when I look at him again, he goes, "Oh, can I get a table for one?" And I do kind of a comical look around, still unconvinced that he's talking to me, a small 20-something girl wearing flip-flops, a crop top, and staring at my phone. I didn't know how to respond, so I just went, "I don't work here, sorry," and immediately wondered why I apologized for not working there. He seemed super confused by that, but finally noticed the actual hostess wearing a bright green shirt with the name of the restaurant emblazoned on it. I've worked as a waitress before and currently work as a barista, so I guess I just emit service worker vibes. That's just the pain of an awkward exchange. Maybe there's a little bit of that service worker vibe, but probably most of it was just posting up next to that "please wait here to be seated" sign. This is one of those moments that I kind of like lay in bed looking back on it and I'm like, why did I say that? I don't go here anymore. I graduated from high school in 1993. 2 years later, I was working for a home remodel company. On one rainy day, I got a call a little later afternoon from my aunt asking me, since she thought I wouldn't be working because of the rain, if I could go pick up my cousin from school because she had gotten sick and needed to be checked out. I said sure and left right away to go pick her up. I parked in the main parking lot and started to walk up the sidewalk to the main entrance to go to the office, when my vice principal from when I went there seen me as she was walking past the door and came running out the door and commanded me to follow her to her office. So I follow her, and as we walk into the office, my cousin sees me and starts to get up. From behind the vice principal's back, I motion for her to wait a minute, and then continue to follow her into her office. As soon as I enter, she slams the door behind me and starts tearing into me about skipping class. Then she gets even more upset when I start to giggle and interrupt her to let her know what was going on. She then informs me that skipping class is a 1-day suspension, but since I obviously wasn't taking it serious enough, she would make it a week. I couldn't keep a straight face, but never could explain that I had graduated 2 years earlier. She gave me a slip of paper and informed me that she would be in contact with my parents and to return to class, as the suspension would start the next day. So I left her office and closed the door behind me, told the secretary what had happened, and checked my cousin out and left. That is where I thought the story would end, but about an hour later, my mother called me and asked how I got suspended from a school I didn't go to. Turns out that the secretary looked up my old information and got my parents' number for the vice principal, even though she knew I didn't go there. I'm guessing to have a little fun of her own. Little backstory on the vice principal: my freshman year, she was the principal but got demoted to vice and then hired a new principal during my first year. Never knew why, but heard stories of someone from the school board smelling alcohol on her breath and finding a bottle of vodka in her desk. I'm 43 years old now and will never forget how much I enjoyed getting suspended from a school I didn't go to. This is actually kind of a really funny story. I'm just imagining myself in this situation, and like the thought of going along with it is actually pretty funny. Oh no, vice principal, I'm sorry, vice principal, I'll never do it again, vice principal. And then they actually do find your old information and call your parents up, I guess probably just to have fun with you, I don't know. It almost makes you wish that OP showed back up to the school just to see what would happen as a follow-up. That's what I would have liked to have heard about. A grumpy dad yells at me while at pickup. So this happened about a month ago at this point, but I wasn't sure if it was worth sharing, but what the heck, here we go. A little background. I work at a child care center and we have shirts that we wear at work that have the company name on the shirt. It's very clear and very obvious of what company it is. One day, one of the families I babysit for asked if I could pick up their kids and take them home, as the mom had a late meeting and would miss the pickup time cutoff. The younger child was at my center in my class, and after getting the proper permission from the director, we headed off to pick up the older sister at her school. The sister went to a pre-kindergarten program that was attached to a very highly prestigious elementary school, and the children enrolled in the pre-K program got first spots in the actual school, so this place was very uppity. I had been there a few times for pickups like this, so the staff knew who I was. On the days that I did have to pick up the sister, she was usually the last one as I got there right before closing. This particular day though, there was another little girl. While the older sister was collecting her things and putting her jacket on, I was holding the younger toddler and chatting with the remaining staff members. And then the other little girl's dad came in. He seemed rushed and annoyed that the little girl wasn't getting her items together like the other one was. "Why isn't my kid ready to go?" he snapped. He was looking at me. I stayed silent. Not the right thing to do for him. "Hello, I'm talking to you." He actually snapped, as in snapped his fingers in my face. "Why is that kid ready and mine isn't? This is favoritism." "Sir, I don't work here," I told him. He did not like that answer, and may I remind everyone that an actual staff member, who I think was kinda shocked as well, was standing right next to me, with her name tag on, and my shirt, which was clearly still visible, showing my center's logo and name, which was very different than the schools we were at. "Oh, don't give me that. I don't care if you're off the clock or whatever. You don't want to admit you have favorites." Finally, the teacher stepped in. Dan, not his name. "She's picking up older sister. She doesn't work here at all." "She can't pick up if she's an employee. That's against the law." He looked disgusted at me. And by the way, it's not against the law whatsoever even if I did work there. Then it's a good thing I'm not an employee. I tried to make a joke and lighten the mood. At this point, the older sister was ready to go and I just wanted to get out of there, so we said goodbye to the teacher and tried to leave. "Where are you going? You can't take kids, you work here," he yelled as I walked down the hall. "No, I don't," I yelled back. He kept yelling at me as I exited the building. I was so flustered and frustrated. After that, we took a timeout in the car and I sat and played some of the music I had saved on my phone for the kids. Lavender by TlMTAM is my personal favorite. Before we drove home. I know it's not the most exciting story, but I thought someone might get a kick out of it. What a nightmare. This dude seemed super abusive and irate and aggressive, and I'm glad that OP got out of there quickly. I'm glad OP kept walking while he was yelling and didn't stop, because that sounded like a dude that was ready to do some confrontation. Yikes, what a nightmare. Sorry, I can't do that. Somewhat wholesome. I, 23-year-old female, don't know if this truly belongs here because I worked for the company, just not in that particular role. I used to work for a local convenience store chain as an inventory auditor, basically a professional candy and beer counter. Auditors are not allowed to process transactions. I didn't mind much pointing people in the right direction of products, but beyond that, I wasn't much help. I did once have a customer who patted my head and then asked me if I was the daughter of the manager of the store. I wasn't, and it was weird for everyone. But that was tolerable compared to the people demanding I ring them up when I was explicitly not allowed to do that. Entitled man EM, fellow auditor Kelly, head auditor James. My team was counting a very high volume store with an extreme turnover rate. My team had counted almost the entire store when the store manager decided to leave and have a new, sort of slow, cashier man the counter and gas station by himself. The line quickly went from 2 to 20 people as there was an issue with the first customer. Once again, auditors are not allowed to manage money or transactions. As this new guy was desperately trying to process a gas exchange, me, James, and Kelly were finishing our paperwork behind the main counter. Entitled man started loudly complaining about how the service was so slow, and since there were so many people in line, we should open the second lane. Kelly, James, and I all tried to calmly explain that we weren't allowed to do that because we were auditors, not cashiers. Entitled man started screaming at James about how we were all behind the counter so we should be able to ring him out. Kelly and I stood to the side, both knowing that if we processed the sale, we could be fired. James defended and protected Kelly, me, and the cashier until Entitled man left in a huff of fury. After that, James asked Kelly and I if we would be okay helping the new cashier by leading people to where they needed to go, while he helped the cashier by walking him through each exchange until the line was down to 2 to 3 people. I'm so happy to have been able to help a newbie with the intense stress and to have my manager be willing to diffuse and assist in this clearly bad situation. No one deserves to be thrown to the wolves, especially when no one there is fully trained and or allowed to do the heavy work. This whole situation falls on the manager's shoulders. How do you leave a relatively new cashier who's pretty green to the situation there alone at what seems to be a pretty rush hour-y kind of time? It just led to nothing but disaster, obviously. It was great that James was able to take charge and kind of settle the situation, and nothing bad really happened, and yeah, that helps make this a somewhat wholesome situation overall. Bartender, but constantly confused as a target employee. I used to bartend. My uniform was black slacks, black shoes, a fitted black dress shirt, and a bow tie occasionally. Many times after my shift ended, I'd run over to Target on the way home to pick up a few things or just browse. I was constantly getting confused as an employee. People would ask where things were, ask random questions. A few times I was even mistaken to be a coworker by the actual employees. How often has this happened to you guys? It never happened at Walmart, but always at Target. I guess just looking all dressed up means you must be an employee, right? It's kind of an odd phenomenon, especially in like Target where the uniform is pretty red and khaki oriented, that somebody in pretty much all black dressed up is getting confused as an employee all the time. Just look for the person that looks all dressed up and ask them questions, I guess. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for listening to and watching the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and let us know what you thought about these stories in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.